Good morning, everybody. I had a whole intro planned about Jack in the Box and how much I loved it and bunch of BS. But I recorded this episode, went to download it, and then it just disappeared. I'm pretty frustrated, so we're just gonna jump right into it. All right. I haven't researched any cases deeply as I have today's, but I do believe it deserves every ounce of love and attention. Every year it becomes more apparent that across Canada and the US, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, mostly women, suffer unjustly. They don't receive the same attention from investigators or from media, and it forces families into becoming full-time detectives, struggling to keep their missing loved ones in the spotlight. Today, I bring you the disappearance of Melanie Ethier. My name is Eli, and this is Murder in the Morning. Come on, Mel. Get up. Turn your alarm off. Melanie Ethier's mother, Celine, received no response and shuffled down the hallway to stop this incessant 7 a.m. beeping herself. But Melanie wasn't in her room. Celine didn't grow worried just yet. She knew her daughter had been with friends the night prior, watching a movie down the street. Maybe she'd fallen asleep there. It wouldn't be unusual for a teenager to do so. According to her mother, Melanie was born on Christmas Day 1980 and was a very bubbly kid. She loved everyone. Even when she was little, she would stop people on the street and say, "Come in and have coffee with my mom." Always very social. During her high school years, she worked at a daycare before school and after school. She was very trustworthy and responsible. End quote. Around 10 a.m., with still no word from her daughter, Celine began to get suspicious. Melanie had plans to bake a cake for her grandmother's birthday celebration, and Celine knew she wouldn't want to miss that. The two were extremely close. Melanie's mom called around and discovered her daughter and their friends had watched a movie at the Chatwin residence the night before. The group of kids consisted of Dave Bromley, Jay Denham, Ryan Chatwin, and Neil Fortier, Melanie's boyfriend. When she called Ryan Chatwin at his house, he said what Celine feared most. She should be home. Melanie had left the Chatwin residence between roughly 1:30 to 2 a.m., according to Ryan. Her walk home was a single kilometer. Where was Melanie? Now, desperate for an answer, Celine phoned the police and reported her daughter missing around 1 p.m. on Sunday, September 29th of 1996. According to Wikipedia, Melanie Ethier was an honor student at this very French-named school that I can't pronounce in New Laskeard, Ontario. Melanie had been described as being the salt of the earth and having a loving personality. The daughter of Celine, whose family had moved to the New Laskeard area when she was only 6 years old, Melanie acted as a second mother to her younger sister, Jessie, who was only 5 in September of 1996. Melanie was one of only 3 black girls in the community. Her father, with whom she had no relationship with, was from Botswana and had met her mother while attending a mining school in a neighboring town, but was soon relocated to another school during pregnancy and returned to Africa after his schooling was complete. According to the Canadian Encyclopedia, because I didn't know much about this area in the middle of nowhere, Canada, located at the mouth of Wabi Creek, the history of this farming community dates back to 1893, when the Ontario government first opened the area to settlement. The agricultural potential of this little clay belt, they called it, attracted farmers from all over the province. By 1896, New Laskeard was a thriving village. Its role as a service center to the surrounding communities was furthered when the railway arrived in 1905. Woo! Its growth had been shaped by the varying fortunes of agriculture, and more recently, it merged with the town of Haileybury and Diamond Township to create the city of Temiskaming Shores in 2004. Basically, yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere, Canada. Boom. On the morning of Saturday, September 28th, 1996, Melanie visited the home of her mother's close friend, Sylvie Chartrand. Only she, Sylvie, and Chartrand's 6-year-old daughter Stephanie were present at the house, as her partner Dennis and her son Jason were out of town. During this visit, Melanie broke a nail, causing her to become upset. Chartrand later speculated her disappointment over the broken nail was compounded by the family's financial difficulties, as their car had broken down and phone service to their house had been cut off the previous day due to unpaid bills. She left Sylvie's house and traveled downtown, hoping to cheer herself up, only by chance running into her best friend at a bus stop outside the public library. This friend decided to abandon her studies early and join Melanie in a day of fun. The two girls meandered through town, stopping for a bite at Pizza and purchasing candles and frosting for her grandmother's birthday cake. Before long, the pair met up with Neil, Mel's boyfriend, Dave Bromley, Jay Denome, and Ryan Chatwin. Around 9 p.m. that evening, the group popped into a video rental store before they closed and purchased the film Sudden Death. The teenagers tried a few houses, including Melanie's and another close friend, but were unable to watch it there at these places for different reasons, eventually settling on Ryan Chatwin's house on Pine Avenue, roughly 6 blocks from Melanie's house, or a 10 to 12 minute walk, according to them, the people who walk it. Quote, according to those present, the teens watched the movie quietly in the basement while Chatwin's parents were asleep upstairs. They consumed no alcohol or drugs that evening, and investigators have stated they believe this to be true. Before the movie finished, Jay Denome left the house around 1 a.m. and returned home. Melanie's female friend also left early in order to catch a ride to Haleyberry, also departing around 1 o'clock. But while she left the house, she encountered a suspicious vehicle that slowly approached her while she crossed an intersection as if assessing her. The girl was so unnerved by this incident that she ran from the scene to the next intersection by the Armstrong Street Bridge, which was better lit. Smart move. The vehicle she encountered has been described as a white or light-colored Chevy Monte Carlo or a similar two-door model with signs of being in poor condition. The witness believes the occupants were 2 teenage boys or young men, but that she can't remember ever seeing the car again. At the time of her departure, only 3 people remained in the house: Melanie, Neil Fortier, and Ryan Chatwin. The last confirmed sighting of Melanie, was at around 1:32 a.m. on Sunday, September 29th, 1996, when she left her friend's house and began making the 1-kilometer walk to her home, alone and on foot. It was uncommon for Melanie to walk home by herself, but without phone service at her place, she couldn't call home for a ride. One of the boys escorted her to the door and watched her walk west down Pine Avenue east. At the time, she was wearing a green Nike windbreaker, white t-shirt, blue jeans, a black belt, black boots with a short heel, a necklace, and a watch, end quote. This would be the last time anyone ever saw Melanie. The search began around 4 p.m. that next day, that Sunday, when officers were dispatched to canvass the area where she had last been seen. On Monday, the police were joined by OPP, or Ontario Provincial Police, who offered a helicopter, a dog team, and a dive team. Quote, although authorities conducted a door-to-door canvass, no homes in the area were actually searched. Police stated that they checked all surveillance video taken along Melanie's route the night she vanished, as well as a visitor's log in the motel near Pine Avenue, end quote. Search teams were unable to find any signs indicating where Melanie had disappeared from or where she was taken. Officially, no evidence has been recovered in the case, though according to her family, a single item may have been recovered by police on the first day of the search and never made public. OPP statements to the media made it clear detectives believed she had no reason to leave the community and suspected foul play. Shortly after her disappearance, missing persons posters and billboards with her picture were put up in Nulaskird and surrounding communities. Police questioned every friend who had been in contact with Melanie the day she disappeared. They were all very helpful and compliant, even offering their help or to take polygraph tests when they could. Eventually, every one of her friends was ruled out. Now, I won't talk about this too much. I cannot imagine the pain they feel, but I feel like I have to address it. Those two boys, Ryan and Neil, regret every day of their life not walking Melanie home. But we can never blame them. It was supposed to be a safe area. But the guilt they have placed on themselves has to be so extremely burdensome. They were just kids. They didn't know what was going to happen. It wouldn't take long for Melanie's case to grow cold. Tips weren't coming in, and without any evidence, video footage, or credible witness accounts, the police were stumped. 2 detectives were placed full-time on this case and began re-interviewing witnesses in early 1997 to exhaust all possible leads in the case, which they seemingly did. And the task force dedicated to Melanie was officially disbanded in 1998. Quote, over the course of their investigation, the 2 officers interrogated hundreds of suspects and persons of interest. The OPP conducted another search for Melanie on April 26 of 1999, focusing on the Dawson Point area to the east of her hometown, which had previously not been investigated. And in the summer of 2000, police seized materials from the landfill in McGarry, again as part of this investigation, end quote. But every time the police checked a new area or dug up a new piece of land, it sadly amounted to nothing. Over the years, alleged witnesses have come forward with harrowing accounts of the night Melanie vanished. For example, and this comes from Wikipedia, one witness came forward in 2008-2009 to state that they had seen Melanie on the Armstrong Street Bridge that night. According to the witness, they had been at the King George Tavern, located 2 blocks from the south end of the bridge, until around 1 a.m. when they picked up food and coffee at a nearby restaurant, Norm's Forum. That's such a sweet name, Norm's Forum. As they were driving home, the witness spotted a girl near the midway point of the bridge around 1:50 a.m. From her backseat view, the witness saw the girl walking on the bridge's western sidewalk when a car pulled over and 2 young men exited the vehicle. They proceeded to corner the girl and coerce her into entering their vehicle before speeding off. The witness recalled the vehicle being a small blue or light-colored sedan, but could not remember what the girl she saw looked like. Police Detective Rob Matthews has expressed major doubt about the authenticity of this version of events, and has stated that the media reports about similar sightings have caused an influx of non-credible tips from people who allege they saw an abduction take place on the bridge. And this has to be tough on Celine. Every time someone comes forward with false information, it gives her a brief moment of hope. In an interview with David Ridgen, she says she's been told everything in the book. Quote, it's almost like it's been a game for some people. People are having fun with it because it's been ridiculous. I've been told she's in a mine shaft. I've been told her body was burned. I've been told her body was put through a wood chipper. I've been told that she was put into a pond, that she's been buried. I've been told just about everything, end quote. According to Wikipedia, suggestions about what happened to Melanie are mostly speculative, as almost no evidence is known to the public. The OPP has disclosed very little information in the hopes of preserving the integrity of the investigation, and the theory favored by them is that Melanie was driven away from the search area by a car on the night of her disappearance, either abducted by a stranger or lured into the vehicle by someone she knew. Which, fucking, yeah, duh. What a broad theory. That she was taken. Of course. The search, oh my god. The search is complicated by the Trans-Canadian Highway, which passes by the community and makes the possibility of a random assault by someone more feasible. However, there are a few strong theories that continue to circulate and cannot be ruled out entirely. In April of 1996, 47-year-old Louis G. was murdered in Thornlow, 20 minutes north of New Laskeard, by Michael L. I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of these French last names. Michael L. was a minor who Louis G. had engaged in sexual relationships with, along with his half-brother, 17-year-old Robert G. The boy's uncle, Gregory Crick, helped the two plan the attack. Eventually, Crick suspected Rob G. was drawing unwanted attention to their family by informing the police of their involvement in Lewis's murder. Rob would go missing in New Laskeard on November 6th or November 8th in what appeared to be just another teen vanishing. His body was found in a gravel pit in April 1998 and was ultimately determined to have been stabbed by either Michael or Gregory Crick. The surviving brother and the uncle were arrested for the murder of Lewis in December of 1996. Police have stated they fully investigated this avenue, unable to form any legitimate connection to Melanie, and her mother says she believes the police. And I think I do too. All factors aside, it's hard for three people to keep a secret while turning on themselves no less. David Ridgen says, quote, "The Crick murders and Melanie's disappearance share only one loose commonality, the timing. And Celine says she's been reassured by the police that they've looked into this theory extensively," end quote. However, another man sticks out like a sore, big dumb thumb. And the fact that he wasn't investigated as closely as the other three men is frustrating. Had he been pressed in the early days after her disappearance, I could be telling a different story today. Dennis LaVeille, or LaVille, a pedophile convicted of sexual assault of minors and other strange offenses such as luring girls into hotel rooms under the ruse of hiring them as a babysitter before making sexual advances. Dennis was in a long-term relationship with Sylvie Chartrand, best friend to Melanie's mother, Celine, and they remained in a relationship for 37 years until his death in 2016. A car accident in 1990 left Dennis with chronic pain, leading him down a path of painkillers and drug abuse, and even more sexual advances of minors. Not a good man. Now, his alibi over the years has changed, and memories are fuzzy, so bear with me. Quote, "On the weekend of Melanie's disappearance, Dennis and his stepson Jason had told his partner, Sylvie, that they were going out of town fishing with Dennis's brother Andre and Jason's friend Joel. Dennis later said that this was a lie, and that they had in fact attended a motocross competition in North Bay that Saturday. Andre was a motocross racer, and there were several racetracks active in the area at the time. That alibi was later corroborated by Jason in a 2021 interview, although he said his memory of that weekend is spotty due to the trauma of losing Melanie. Andre has denied any memory of where they'd gone that weekend, but Joel has said that he was at a large house party in New Laskeard that weekend, and if they had attended a motocross competition, it would have only been a day trip," end quote. Dennis claims the group made it back between the hours of noon and 4 p.m. on Sunday, before learning of Melanie's disappearance. However, if it were only a day trip, right, Dennis could be lying about the time they came back and would have easily been back Saturday night around the time she went missing. Or, and this is speculation on my part, let's say they did stay overnight Saturday in North Bay at this motocross competition. Theoretically, Dennis could have driven the 2 hours, it's only 2 hours, 2 hours back to New Laskeard, taken Melanie, killed her, and dumped her body somewhere outside of the town on the way back to North Bay. There's over 157 kilometers in between those towns, plenty of possible hiding spots. And, in addition to the criminal sexual abuse of minors, Dennis acted entirely too strange in the days following Melanie's disappearance. In the interview with Celine, she recounts a disturbing moment alone with Dennis. He had driven her to see someone 3 days after Melanie's disappearance, and the whole ride was acting odd. Celine said, "I got back to town, he drops me off at my house, and then he says, 'Well, whoever took Mel has to have marks, because she made me marks play fighting.' He then lifted his sweater at the wrist and showed me he had nail marks, like deep nail marks, and said it was from Melanie. He said, 'Whoever took Mel has marks, because look at the marks I have from her, from play fighting.' I thought that was so odd because Melanie was in school all week, and they were supposed to be gone fishing or at motocross, so she should have never seen them that week. And the marks were so deep, it was just straight nail marks, straight down into his wrists." End quote. When I heard this, it blew my mind. Is he not essentially confessing to her mother at that moment? Like, the killer must have marks. Here, look at the marks Melanie made on me. Ta-da! It just feels so blatant. Melanie's mother and her friends are certain that she would never play fight with that man. Even Dennis's family stated they've never seen him play wrestle with Melanie. Later in the investigation, Dennis told his neighbor Jocelyn Martel that the marks were actually caused by branches while searching for Melanie, and not caused by Melanie. Now, why would he choose to tell a different story? My problem is this. Investigators didn't corroborate Dennis's alibi with anyone outside of the group he was supposedly with. Send someone to their fishing spot. Send someone to North Bay. Figure out exactly where they were that day. This man is a known sexual predator. It's the least they should have done the instant he appeared on their radar. And 2, I can't find any record of police questioning him about the marks he admitted were made by Melanie on his own body, or questioning him, period. Like ever. Quote, Celine maintains that she considers Dennis the prime suspect in her daughter's disappearance and does not believe that police made an appropriate effort to investigate him while he was alive. Sylvie Chartrand has stated police only spoke to her about Melanie's disappearance months after and never spoke to Dennis again while he was alive. Police only began speaking to his daughter in 2021 and have never spoken to his stepson despite him being part of the alibi. Ugh. In a 2021 interview, Sylvie Chartrand stated that she agreed with Celine that Dennis was responsible for what happened to her daughter. The guy she was with for 37 years, she's like, yeah, it was probably him. Police contend that they investigated him before his death, but have offered no further comments. End quote. I don't think they investigated him. If they investigated him, we would know where the marks were from. We would know where he was that weekend, for sure, and we might even know where Melanie is. In 2012, while serving time for a separate sexual attack, yes, on a minor, he was visited by Celine, who directly asked about his involvement in her daughter's case, but he said he could never hurt Melanie and suggested Rob Goulet had murdered her. How convenient. The only other murdered teen in town. Quote, after his release, Celine again tried to make contact with Dennis. He got released again. Crazy. But he suffered a debilitating stroke the evening before she planned to confront him, paralyzing him down one side of the body and limiting his ability to vocalize just one sound. According to his family, the stress around having to speak with Melanie's mother and the police may have caused him such serious stress that it triggered a stroke. End quote. Or his guilty friggin' conscience. I'd have a stroke trying to keep that in, my goodness. In a final interview with David Ridgen, 2 unnamed friends or acquaintances of Dennis dropped a bombshell. They claim he confessed. Quote, Dennis came here and he sat in that chair and he was really drunk and stoned. Then all of a sudden he said, I killed her, out of the blue, which nobody had mentioned anything about. And I said, you killed who? And he said, Melanie. I said, what do you mean you killed her? And he said, I didn't mean to. It went wrong and I killed her. So I said, well, where'd you put her? He didn't talk no more, end quote. The two unnamed witnesses only came forward with this information after Dennis died. I believe efforts have been made or currently are to fact check this new information and to search the property of these witnesses, as Dennis was known to have access to the land. However, nothing of note has come up since 2021-2022, I believe. There are quite a few other theories out there. Some make sense and others simply conjecture. Gun to my head, I believe Dennis is responsible. If you're interested in learning much more about Melanie's case and her story, I highly recommend David Ridgen's 5-part podcast series, Real Interviews with the People Who Know the Story Best. As of 2024, Melanie's case is still active and still unsolved. Her mother has fought tooth and nail to keep public awareness up over the years, but she cannot do it alone. I hope I was able to do that story justice. Sometimes it frightens me to attempt such sensitive, heart-wrenching stories. Let me know if you enjoyed it, though. I love hearing from you all. Thank you so much for listening in. And if you like, there will be a bonus bit after the music, so stick around. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Now that I've had time to think about it, it's probably for the best that I skipped the whole Jack in the Box intro. It was pretty bad. With quite a heavy first story, I tried to find a little more uplifting story to leave you with. And if you've been a longtime listener of My Favorite Murder, you'll know that Karen loves a good sinkhole story. And here we are. Titled, A Giant Sinkhole Swallows the Center of a Soccer Field, of AP News. Quote, a giant sinkhole has swallowed the center of a soccer complex that was built over an operating limestone mine in southern Illinois, taking down a large light pole and leaving a gaping chasm, where squads of kids often play. But no injuries were reported after the sinkhole opened Wednesday morning. No one was on the field and no one was hurt. That's the most important thing, said Alton Town Mayor David Goines. Security video that captured the whole sudden formation shows a soccer field light pole disappearing into the ground, along with benches and the artificial turf at the city's Gordon Moore Park. The hole is estimated to be at least 100 feet wide and up to 50 feet deep, said Michael Haynes, the city parks and rec director. Oh man, I bet he's having the time of his life right now with this project. It was surreal, kind of like a movie where the ground just falls out from underneath you, he said. Quote, the impacted area has been secured and will remain off limits for the foreseeable future, while experts examine the mine and conduct repairs. We will work with the city to remedy this issue as quickly and safely as possible. End quote. Please go watch this video. There's probably a whole lot other cooler sinkhole videos out there, but I audibly squeaked when the lamp post vanished. I'll put a link to it below to make it easy. I recommend it. It was fun. It was a fun watch. Welp, I think that'll about do it for today, folks. If you stuck around to the very end, thank you. Still can't believe I had to record this twice. Probably for the best, since I had a dry run and I've worked my way out of the bad mood that I started it with. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you Thursday. Okie dokie. Bye-bye. Love you.